Good evening, everyone. Thank you for joining. We know that you have so many things that you could be doing right now, but you are here with us for this second webinar of this new platform that you all have been asking me to launch for years. And I finally listened. Leaders who put the human in humanity. Leaders who put the human in humanity. It's so important now more than ever when you think of everything that is going on today to make sure that we have engaged leaders, leaders who lead from the heart, leaders who care, leaders who are compassionate and who are kind. And so this platform, I'm going to be introducing you to a lot of folks. People have been reaching out saying, hey, I want to be a part of what you're doing. And so we're so very fortunate for that. Tonight, you're in for a treat. Leaders who care about your health and wellness. Leaders who care about your health and wellness. We are so glad to have with us Sister Regina Shipman and Sister Dr. Jen Alexander. And of course, our moderator, Katie Kempner. And let me just talk for a moment before I turn it over to Katie. When I started my career at Ford Motor Company, and I was doing all kinds of things, you know, people could have said that I was a little busybody, right? But I wanted to impact the culture in a positive way. And people said, you can't do that. Well, as soon as people say you can't do that, here I come, right? And so I wanted to really help leaders. The automotive industry, I think, is probably one of the most stressful environments, very high stress, very high, fast paced. And I wanted to just have leaders understand the importance of taking care of their health. I remember, and I've never shared this story before, but I remember being in a meeting and we're standing around and we're looking at some parts that have been made. And I was starting to feel a little lightheaded. And I felt like the room was kind of moving a little bit. And shortly thereafter, I was diagnosed with high blood pressure. And it was just a reminder for me that all of the things that I was doing, I brought in massage therapists, we had health fairs, I did all kinds of things as the diversity champion because I wanted leaders to pause and pay attention to what was going on in their lives, with their health, with their well-being. And I remember being so busy during my career as an executive that I was forgetting my gynecology appointments. I was forgetting to have the mammograms. No more. My health is my priority. That is my wealth. I cannot serve with excellence if I am not healthy. And so tonight you're going to hear from two amazing sisters who are just doing incredible things to serve with love and compassion. So I'm going to just have DJ will spotlight Regina Shipman so that you can see her beautiful face. Hello, sister. I love you so much.
Love you too, sis.
She is just an incredible sister. We've honored her along with some leaders at Procter & Gamble. And so now you're going to hear more about what she is doing today. Beyond the Bell Foundation and Regina Rose, I mean, just doing so many amazing things. And so thank you for being here with us tonight. We love you.
Thank you for having me. Love you too.
You're welcome. And Dr. Jen, no skin. Hey, sis.
Hey, sis.
It is so wonderful to have you on here. I always laugh when Dr. Jen says that she stole me from her husband because I was mentoring her husband at Procter & Gamble. He used to work in my group. And she said, I just stole him. I just stole you from him.
Divine innovation is what I like to say.
Love you. We are honored that you are here and what you are doing. Only the second African-American skin scientist in the US.
Yes.
Yes.
Yeah.
Mama free. And so we're so excited about what you are going to share with us and enlighten us about our skin, the largest organ that we have.
Yes.
We love you and we thank you for being here with us.
Thank you for having me.
Welcome. And now I'm going to introduce my sister from another Mr. Katie Kempner, founder of Kempner Communications. Hi, Katie, our moderator for tonight. How are you, sister?
Hello, I am great, sis, and I am so excited. This is going to be, I know, an amazing conversation, and I'm honored to help be a part of it. So thank you.
Well, I will turn it over to you, beautiful.
Perfect. Thank you. So welcome, everyone. This is a very important conversation, and I think the best way to start, really, Sonia, is for me to ask you, our first discussion of this series, it was focused on leading with kindness and how to treat those that we work with. So this session is a little different, and yet equally, if not more important, in the sense it's about being kind to ourselves. So can you share a little bit about why wellness and health, two things that are really imperative to well-being, are critical to being a terrific leader?
Yes, thank you, Katie, for that. So often we are trying to serve from empty cups. And one of the things that I had to learn, particularly for people like me who love to serve and love to give, we have to be very careful because you can give until you're depleted. And when that happens, you hit the wall, right? And then no one gets what they need from you. And so what I learned is that I had to do the work, and you know that I call this heart work, but I had to do the work internally, inside, to really help to shape my perspective on health and well-being, because I'm a recovering workaholic. And so when you don't know how to turn it off, let me say it that way, when you keep going and keep going, it's just not, it's unhealthy. It's not healthy. And so I had a lot of really bad habits. And here I was trying to serve as an executive, make sure I'm serving at home, make sure I'm serving in the community. And again, what happens in those instances? And so I used to say things like, and people don't laugh at me because this is bad. I know it's bad. I'll sleep when I die. So I was centered around, my mind and perspective was, oh, I don't need 6 hours. I don't need 8 hours. I can function on 3 hours of sleep. Well, try that consistently for a while and see if it's sustainable. It's not. I, used to eat a lot of things that I knew were not good for me. And so I had to rethink my approach to food. Water. I used to say, give me the soda. I want the soda. I need something strong. And so not drinking enough water. And then this one was really bad. And let me just say and send love to all of my trainers out there who I gave you the business. I gave you a fit because I used to say, I hate exercising. Now, why would I hate something that's good for me? Why? But because I kept being in that rut of saying all and having all these bad habits, it caused me to have a perspective that was just terrible, quite frankly. And that's not the way to live. And so now to be able to have the energy, because I have so much joy every single day that I wake up, I have so much joy because I have addressed all of that bad thinking and all that negative thinking towards health and wellness in a way that allows me to make sure that I'm doing what I need to do for myself such that when I do that, I have more than enough for my family. I have more than enough for the work that I'm doing all around the world because I have done what I needed to do for myself. And that's true leadership. And I just think that we're not talking about it enough. There are so many people who are dealing with so many things. And I feel like we are not talking about health and wellness and connecting it to leadership in the way that we need to.
Well, we're doing it now. So here we go. So Regina, let's start with you. I mean, reading your bio and your story, hearing about your life, you're such an inspiration. I'm not sure even where to begin, but I think a great place is we can talk about your story and how it led you to start the Regina Rose Cancer Empowerment Center.
Yes. So of course, I am a 1-year cancer survivor. And I would tell you the big C word, as they would call it, the unspoken word that many families may not really sit down and talk about or discuss. So in 2021, I had the opportunity to experience what I thought was the inevitable, that it could never happen to me. And I love how Sonia was sharing that. You know, I was working hard, being a mother, being a daughter, being a friend, being everything that I could possibly be. I'm a minister of the gospel, so preaching and teaching, but I wasn't taking care of myself. And so when I got the diagnosis in 2021, I was stunned because I just thought that could not happen to me. I never sat down and talked to family members to truly understand my family history. I never really sat down and understood exactly what cancer was. And if I was to ask everyone today on the line, what is cancer? I probably would get various information or input. But truly understand that these are cells that are not functioning appropriately in the body. It's supposed to attack, cells are supposed to replenish and to heal certain things, but cancer cells destroys the same thing that it's supposed to heal. So trying to really wrap my mind around the big C. I had breast cancer, so I'm a breast cancer survivor. And the whole process of going through that, I had a lot of learning. I did a lot of research. I really built a network around me that had an array of doctors and medical professionals and family members of support. Through that process, I learned what the need was for the cancer community. So Regina Rose Cancer Empowerment Institute is a center hub, it's a resource hub to ensure that we simplify and give the information to this community and family members to ensure that we have preventative measures, to ensure that we have help and support for the cancer community, and to really show up in a tangible way to make sure that people have products and tools to really sustain their lives at this point. So with the learnings, we will be able to give out so much. I'm partnering with companies, pharmaceutical companies. I'm partnering with doctors, and they're all contributing to make sure that this is a successful adventure for me as well as for the cancer community. So I'm excited.
That's incredible. So if people here want to be in touch with the center, is it ready? Can they reach out?
Absolutely. The website is posting this weekend. The book, I have a book called You Can Survive, and it's spelled cancer with V-I-V-E at the end. You can survive. And I am a living witness of what faith, hope, belief, research, positive thinking. I'm a living witness that yes, you can get through cancer, but there are steps that we must share, that you must take.
That's amazing. So we're so happy that you're healthy, and that's wonderful. So people will be able to go to your site. Let's talk now, Dr. Jen. I mean, also such an impressive background. As Sonia said, the second African-American in the entire country to earn a PhD in cosmetic science. Can you please share your story with us?
Absolutely, Katie. So, I've always been into cosmetics and skincare products as far back as I can remember. And I worked in CVS when I was growing up, and I had every lipstick and skincare product I could think of. And so when I was in college, I majored in chemistry, and I knew that I wanted to get an advanced degree, but I wasn't sure exactly in what area. And so my sister told me about the cosmetic science PhD program. And as soon as I heard about it, I knew that that was the program for me. And so I got to graduate school, and I'm thinking I'm going to learn about cosmetics and skincare. And I remember very distinctly sitting in my very first cosmetic science class, and the professor said that skin is the largest organ of the human body. And my mind was blown. I had never heard that. I had no idea that skin was even an organ, much less the largest organ. And so that's really where my perspective shifted. And that's really where I began to focus on skin health. And I wanted to know more. I wanted to understand more. And I started telling my family, my friends, anybody that could listen, that would listen, hey, skin is the largest organ, and we should be wearing our sunscreen and taking care of our skin like it's an organ. And so, that was something that I've been passionate about ever since graduate school. And over the course of my career, I've had the opportunity to work in different areas of research. I've done clinical research in the hospital setting with healthcare workers. I've done consumer and products research in corporate America and for small businesses. And the theme is still the same across the board. People don't recognize and realize that skin is an organ, and they definitely don't recognize and realize that skin health is directly connected to our overall health. And it's really a mirror to our overall health and wellness. And so that's my passion. And that's why I founded my company, Dr. Jen Knows Skin, is to really teach people not only about skin health, but the connection that it has to our overall health. And I've pivoted and evolved that message going beyond just skin health, but it's really about holistic skin health. And my evolution came after I had my own health challenges. I suffered from postpartum depression for almost 7 years. And in my darkest moments, I could barely get out of bed, much less think about a skincare regimen. And so as I began to heal, I made it a point to do my skincare regimen every day because it was something that I used to love. And what I noticed, Katie, was as I kept doing it each day, it became a ritual. And I felt like a little bit more of myself was coming back. And so I realized that it was going beyond the physical, beyond my skin healing on the outside, but I felt more confident. I felt more connected to my body. And so it really helped me to realize that skincare goes beyond the physical. And it's really about the holistic healing power of skincare. And so that's the message that I am teaching today, that skincare is a mirror to our overall health. And like I always say, our skin tells our story.
So how do those practices work together and in your own practice?
It's a great question. And people ask me that all the time. And so the way I like to think about it is, the data and the science tell a part of the story. It's a piece of the puzzle. But when we're talking about holistic skin health, whole person includes the soul person, right? So there are parts of science that cannot predict everything. And so, for example, if you have someone that has eczema, the science or the data will tell us this person has eczema and it's caused by inflammation. But there's so many other pieces to the puzzle and pieces to this person. So as you start to break it down, and when I think about holistic, I think about the soul body, the mental body, the emotional body, and the physical body, right? So we have inflammation. And then as we look at healing holistically, we start to ask questions. So from a physical standpoint, what's happening? Is it your diet? Is it the lack of exercise? Is it stress from your job or your family, your sleeping habits, etc.? And then from a mental standpoint, you ask the question of mental health. Do you have a therapist? Are you managing your mental health effectively? Your emotional health. Do you have healthy ways to process your emotions? And then what I like to call your soul health. Are you connected to your purpose and your reason for being here on this earth? And all those things can cause stress in our body, which can lead to inflammation, which can in turn impact the skin. So it's all connected, and the data or the science is a piece of the puzzle that helps to inform the holistic story.
I mean, that's so true. And if people want to be in touch with you, how do they find your practice?
I have my website is drjenknowskin.com.
Perfect. And as Sonia just said in the comments, we're going to be taking questions. So please, if you have any questions, put them there and we will try to get to all of them. Sonia, I have a question for you. You know, we've been talking about being ill, not feeling well, being depressed. At the same time, people are often afraid to tell their employers if they're sick or if they have a diagnosis or they're not feeling how they should be feeling, they think. What advice can you give to them? And add to that, what advice can you give leaders on how to handle situations when people do come to them?
Well, it's so interesting, Katie. These are just great questions. You're such a wonderful moderator.
Thank you. My parents are watching, so I appreciate that.
And hi, Dad. My dad is watching. My family's watching too. You know, it's so interesting how oftentimes we make up a lot of narratives in our minds. And I oftentimes, one of my quotes that people love is, in the absence of information, people make stuff up. And when they make it up, they tend to go negative. And so what happens a lot of times as people are preparing, they've gotten a diagnosis or something's going on at home, a lot of times they will make up narratives that are just not true. And that fear keeps them from being open about what they are dealing with. Particularly if you have leadership who care and you work in a culture and an environment where people care, opening up and sharing, especially when you have received a particular diagnosis and you are thinking through what you need, being able to articulate what you need is so important. I call it having courageous conversations, and we have to build our courage muscle, right? Because sometimes we have to say those things that need to be said and we have to share. And, I do know that there are some environments that may not be supportive, but what I have learned is if you are open and if you are sharing transparently and talking about what some of your needs are, I believe, and maybe it's just the optimist in me, I believe that most leaders will say, well, gosh, if that's what you need, let's figure it out. I work with some amazing companies, and I recently did some training, and just hearing what some of the leaders have done to accommodate people in the organization who were going through challenges was just so, it literally filled me with joy. I was so filled with joy because I know and believe that we can create environments in our corporations and in our organizations that are loving and kind, and by the way, can produce the results that leaders are looking for, the growth, the profitability. And so having those kinds of conversations and being transparent about what you need, finding your voice, because a lot of times we're afraid to say what we need, or we're afraid to say that we need help. I know I was, right? But when you need it, you have to say it. You have to learn how to dig deep and be able to say and use your voice to say what you need. And I found once I started doing that, it took me to another level of success, and the trajectory of my life changed because I was literally asking for what I needed. And what I needed then helped to catapult me to that next level of excellence. And so for leaders who are on, so for people who are dealing with these kinds of challenges, finding your voice and sharing what you need, okay, is something that I want you all to take away from tonight's session. And then for leaders who have direct reports, please, please, please create an environment where they can come and share with you what's going on. And you can, within reason, because the business is the business, right? But where you can really help to understand what those needs are. It's so important. And particularly in today's environment where we have people who are voting with their feet, it's important for leaders to recognize if you want to keep the best of the best, if you want a high-performing team and organization, creating spaces where people can show up and be great, right? And then when they have a need, being able to meet those needs is really, really important. And I think it's going to continue to be important given the dynamics of what's happening in our marketplace. People are going to need support. And I think that being able to have organizations that people work in give that support is really going to make a huge difference in retention in the US here and around the world, because we may have some folks on, from other parts of the globe as well.
That's an excellent point. So, Dr. Jen, we discussed breast cancer, and now I would like to talk about melanoma. I told Sonia that I would just very briefly share my own story, which I have very light skin, and I hated the fact always when I was growing up that I was so white. I wanted to have this tan look. So I got to college and I used to lay out and spread I would put baby oil all over my body and lay out like an idiot. And, I was always getting things since then taken off of me. And, I thought, well, that was dumb, but it really wasn't that scary or anything, and then I had an opportunity like 7 years ago, as you were saying, Regina, I really felt on top of the world. I had the opportunity to shoot a pilot for a talk show, which did not sadly get picked up, but I was in New York. I was with my best friend. We were at this really nice hotel suite. And I had another thing taken off, but I really wasn't thinking about it because I was like about to be famous. And I got a call from my dermatologist's office and they said, you have melanoma. And in the middle of that day. So luckily it was melanoma in situ. But I have had to go for years, every 3 months, to get a full body checkup. And recently I had a thing on my ear, which thank goodness was nothing, but was very scary as I waited 2 weeks for the results. And the one thing that I do want to share with anybody who does have to deal with melanoma, I not only have to get checked for that, but every time I go to the dentist, to the gynecologist, to the eye doctor, I have to tell them that I had that so they can check me in places where you wouldn't even think you would have it. So it stays with you. The fact that you have to be very careful. Dr. Jen, I just want to ask you about melanoma. How prevalent is melanoma?
Katie, sorry to hear about your experience. Melanoma is the most serious form of skin cancer. And there are about a little less than 100,000 new cases each year. And, one of the things is that while melanoma is most prevalent in white men and women, it is Black men and women that are more likely to die from melanoma. And so one of the key things is early detection. So the survival rate of melanoma is over 90% if it's detected early. And so there are 5 key things. They're called the ABCDEs of melanoma to look out for. So the A is for asymmetry. So if you have what looks like a mold anywhere on your body, because yes, it can be in the sun exposed areas, but it can be anywhere. If that mold is asymmetrical, meaning if you draw a line down the middle of it, they should be even on both sides. That's the symmetry. If it's asymmetrical, you should get it checked out. The B is for the border. So the border of that mold should be even. If it is scalloped or uneven, you should get that mold checked out. The C is for color. Most molds are one color. If it's multiple colors, you should get that mold checked out. The D is for diameter. So if the diameter of the mold is larger than a pencil eraser, you should get that mold checked out. And then the E is for evolving, or the evolution, meaning the mold is changing in some way. So it's getting larger, the color is changing, the border is changing, or it's bleeding, or you notice some change. And so you should always, if you have any issues, if you have any questions, and even if it's just your intuition telling you to go get checked out, follow your intuition and see a board certified dermatologist as soon as possible, because some forms of melanoma can spread as quickly as 6 weeks.
Thank you for that. And just one other thing around that, I mean, especially now where we're basically melting all over the country. Sun protection, so important. Are there any specific products or SPFs that you recommend? I think it gets confusing with SPF because after a certain point, I've been told it doesn't really make that much of a difference. Is that true?
That is true. So yes, sunscreen. I preach this to everybody. You need sunscreen every day. If it is daylight outside, if it's cloudy, sunny, raining, sleety, you need sunscreen, period. And so sunscreen is the #1 key tool to help you fight against melanoma. The sunscreen, I always recommend at least an SPF of 30. An SPF of 30, a broad spectrum sunscreen, meaning that it blocks UVA and UVB light. That will help with about 97% of the sun rays. So that's what the SPF 30 will do for you. The other thing is making sure that you are smart about your sun exposure. So don't be outside. Try not to be outside if you can during peak hours, which is between 10 a.m. and 4 p.m. If you are going to be outside, protect yourself beyond the sunscreen. So make sure that you have on protective clothing, wearing sunglasses, wearing wide brim hats. If you're going to sit outside at the beach, making sure you have an umbrella. So just being smart and preparing ahead of time. And then the other thing to mention about the sunscreen is making sure that if you are outside, applying the sunscreen every 2 hours and making sure that you are applying a heavy layer of sunscreen to ensure that it is going to protect you. Because one of the data points is that for every sunburn that you get, you are more likely to suffer from melanoma. So I think it's a twofold. It increases your chances by twofold, right? So for every sunburn you get, it increases your chances of getting melanoma by twice. And so just being smart about it, right? Don't sit out in the sun. Don't sit out in the sun. Vitamin D. Dermatologists now are warning against going out in the sun without any sunscreen just to get your vitamin D. And so they're recommending that people get their vitamin D through their food, through foods that have vitamin D in them now. And so they're not even recommending anymore to go outside to get your vitamin D. I know that's one of the things that people often say, I'm going to get my vitamin D, so I'm going to sit outside without any sunscreen. So just be very smart, and please, 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 if nothing else, wear your sunscreen.
Thank you for that. Regina, I wanted to ask you a question that Dr. Jen had touched on earlier, which has to do with the mental side of things. So when people are dealing with being sick and having breast cancer or another form of cancer, how important are the other aspects, the mental side of things when dealing with a health challenge? And how can you keep your spirits up when you're dealing with something that is literally often life and death?
Absolutely. Thanks for asking that great question. I think Dr. Jen touched on it. It is really about finding coping mechanisms to deal with the mental state and to deal with stress. Stress, of course, also is an attack on your immune system. So if your immune system is already compromised, additional stress is not going to help, right? So you have to be able to have the right balance and a regime in your life to really minimize stress. And so get into some normal habits of walking outside or inside. I started, and I thank Dr. Jen for sharing that. I'm not really an outdoor person, so you made me feel good by saying I don't need to go out. So what I started doing was taking walks and laps inside my house. That relaxes me. I am a prayer warrior. So prayer energizes my inward to my outward, right? And so I have different things and a regime in my life that really, really kind of set the tone and the pace. When I wake up in the morning, my devotion is the first thing I do, and that sets the tone for my day. being around friends, to really help to encourage me. And you have to have a strong network. When, some people say, well, I don't need anybody. Yes, you do. You absolutely need people, and having that strong support system around me really energized me. So the more you get positive reinforcement around you, the more you feel good, the more you think positive. And when you have a positive mental state, you are able to accomplish things that you probably thought that you would never be able to accomplish. So the mental controls your life, to be honest. Whatever you think, you become. And so I try to make sure that I think positive so that I will have a positive outcome.
Thank you for that. And everything you said is so important. And Sonia, I saw you nodding your head because this is about sisterhood and the Sister Accord Foundation and everything that you have been teaching people for now 10 years. So it's truly amazing. And I want to ask you a question, but first I want to say, I saw somebody raise their hand. If you have any questions, please put them in the chat and we will get to them. And I'd also like to say, after the chat for the last 10 minutes, Dr. Jen is going to lead us through face yoga. And if you haven't heard of it, you will be very happy to learn how to do it, because as I told Dr. Jen, I saw a friend of mine that I hadn't seen in several months and she looked amazing. I thought for sure she had done a little tweaking. She said, nope, face yoga. So we're getting to the face yoga. A few questions. Okay, so here, Sonia, and then we'll do some questions. But Sonia, one thing I just wanted to ask you is, this particular session was so important, as we talked about in the beginning. We've heard some really amazing things from Regina and Dr. Jen. What do you want to make sure that people take away from today?
That you have to be a priority. And I know a lot of times people think that, oh, that sounds selfish. Oh, I don't want to feel like I have ego or all those things. Friends, sisters and brothers who are on, I have just learned that if I am not making myself a priority, my health, my time with myself, I enjoy being alone, right? And so learning how to love me, and that's why I think in these 10 years, we've been so incredibly successful. People keep saying, well, what's the secret sauce, Sonia? What's the secret sauce? And I continue to say to them that, if it is a secret sauce, it's that we are spending time on self-love. I had a mentee from every continent with the exception of Antarctica when I was in corporate America. And I recognized that the work that I was doing with them, particularly if there was women having issues with other women, when I helped them to tap into their greatness, when I helped them to truly understand what their gifts and talents were and how to effectively use them, oh my gosh, it was everything. How to embrace who they are and not compare. Comparison is the enemy of joy. The moment you start comparing yourself to somebody else, you're going to find somebody cuter. You're going to find somebody thinner. None of that stuff matters. But what I found was when I truly helped them to learn how to love and embrace the skin that they were in, no pun intended, or maybe pun intended, that was everything. It was a powerful thing. And so I wanted to make sure that I included that in the curriculum and in all of the programming that we have, and the testimonials and the transformations and people saying we saved their lives. I mean, that's what we've been doing for 10 years, a whole decade of sowing seed around this principle of how important self-love is. And in today's environment with social media and what's happening with our girls is even more important, because so many of them are becoming depressed after they spend time on social media. The bullying is happening on social media. And so now more than ever, we have been called for such a time as this. I am clear about that. And I'm so glad that my yes 10 years ago has led to what we are doing today, because it's necessary and because it's needed and because this is what was planted inside of me as I was formed in my mother's womb. And so I'm just so grateful for the opportunity to share these things, because I know that it is truly making a difference in the lives of girls and women all around the world.
Regina, I see you nodding your head very vigorously, and I
Yes.
feel like you have something to add. So please.
Absolutely. And I just thank God for Sonia and starting this whole program. I had a chance to witness her events, and I see the young girls light up and the information that is going to be transformative for their lives, right? Transformational for their lives. And so I just celebrate Sonia, Dr. Jen, and yourself, Katie. I celebrate you all. This information is power. Information is absolutely powerful. And one of the things I just wanted to say when Sonia was sharing, sharing like our stories, that testimonial part alone makes a difference. So talk about your story. Tell your story. Someone needs to hear. And I would just say this, my cancer was found not through feeling the lump. My cancer was identified through an itching of my skin on my breast.
Wow.
So stress, just the itching sensation drove me to get checked just to say, hey, what's going on? It comes, it goes, it comes, it goes. I had never thought that I would have cancer, but that is a sign and symptom. And so me being able to share that testimony of how my journey or how I discovered that something wasn't right in my body, that was the way that now I can help other people, letting people know for women, we have breast, I had breast cancer, the changing of, hopefully this is respectful to everyone, but the changing of your nipples, there are signs besides feeling the lump. And oftentimes we get focused on one symptom and we excuse other symptoms that are now even more prevalent. So I just want to say the sister cord is for us being able to be gap standers and supporting one another by sharing our testimony. Thank you.
Wow.
think-
Wow.
I think
And
that's-
Katie, I want to make sure that, oh, Sister Regina, you got to talk about the food.
Yes.
Can you just shine a quick light on that too?
Absolutely. And so the nutritional health side of it, through all of the research and my nutritionist sharing with me, discovering, I'm from South Carolina, so all my family members may be on from South Carolina. I'm a pork eating person, beef eating person, love all of that. But the four-legged animal that we eat have been injected with chemicals for the most part. Now, if you are able to go to Whole Foods and get all of the organic stuff, good for you. But just know, most of the meats that we eat are injected with some type of hormone. You become what you eat. So if I'm eating animals that are injected with hormones, my cancer was hormone-based. There is a likelihood that that could impact. So my whole food diet had to change. So my nutritionist will say, eat only from two-legged animals. That's the chicken and the turkey, and seafood. Soy. A lot of people may not be aware, but soy is not one of the healthier foods that we want to consume. How it breaks down and what happens as the chemical composition that changes and reacts within the body, it can cause. So these are cancer producing or causing things just in what we eat every single day. So we have to be very careful in reading labels and understanding how to read the labels on the food.
That's
Oh,
fantastic. And in that same vein, we have a question from Benita Mudd. Dr. Jen, what type of sunscreen is the best to get used on a person's face?
I recommend physical sunscreens. So there are physical sunscreens and chemical sunscreens. And physical sunscreens will be your sunscreens that contain zinc oxide or titanium dioxide. And the reason I recommend those is because there's been research that has found that chemical sunscreens can get into the bloodstream and we don't know what happens, right? So it gets into the body, you have these foreign ingredients in your body, and so it could cause any type of disruptions in the body. So I always recommend physical sunscreens over chemical sunscreens. The caveat to that is that physical sunscreens aren't as luxurious from a formulation standpoint. They're harder to go on, especially for people of color. So you have to find the right product, the right physical sunscreen that works for you. So sometimes it can be trial and error, but it's better from a health standpoint, in my opinion.
Thank you for that. And I know sometimes women are worried because they say, well, I'm gonna put makeup on, so I don't want to have it on, but you put on your moisturizer, you put on your sunscreen. Let me know if that's actually the backwards order. That's how I do it. I put on my moisturizer, then my sunscreen. Yes?
Yes, that's correct.
And then you put on your makeup, and then you can go out with a great looking face, and you feel great. Not that you need makeup. Very want to say that there. You don't need makeup to look beautiful, but if you want to put some on. So talking about faces, it's time. Let's do face yoga.
All right, so let's get started. All right, so I'm so excited to do face yoga. I am a huge fan of face yoga. So before we get started, I just want to tell you a little bit about face yoga. It is essentially a workout for the face. So you are going to work out and firm the muscles in your neck and your face. And so as you firm these muscles and work these muscles, what happens is that you firm the skin, you brighten the skin. It helps to minimize fine lines and wrinkles, and also helps to stimulate collagen production. And this is really important because collagen is the main structural protein of the skin, and it's what gives our skin its firmness. And we lose 1% of collagen each year, starting in our 20s. So all of us should be doing something on a regular basis to be stimulating collagen production, unless you are 20 years old or younger. Okay, so, and the other thing that it does, it's a lot of fun, and you can't take yourself that seriously. So it helps you to reduce stress. And we know that stress can wreak havoc on the body as well as the skin. So face yoga has a lot of benefits, and we are going to jump right in. All right, so before we get started, we've been talking, so I want us to switch modes a little bit. So I invite you to close your eyes or lower your gaze. And I just want us to connect with our bodies and bring your attention to your breath. And just breathe here for a moment. And notice any sensations in your body. And we're going to take 2 cleansing breaths together. We're going to do a deep inhale through the nose and exhale through the mouth. Deep inhale through the nose and exhale through the mouth. Feel your body relax. Again, deep inhale through the nose. Hold it. And exhale through the mouth. I invite you to open your eyes. All right, so we're going to get started with some warm-ups. We're just going to start doing some shoulder rolls. And this helps to release tension in the body, any stagnant energy that you're holding on to. And just roll your shoulders. And you want to make sure that as you're doing these exercises that you're breathing. All right, want to make sure that those skin cells in the body is getting the oxygen. All right, now we're just going to go in the opposite direction. And I like to call these my PE exercises, because these are the types of warm-up exercises we used to do in PE class, not realizing that they are so awesome for the body. All right, so kind of shake that out a little bit. And now we're going to do some neck rolls, and this is to release, and you can start with me. We're just going to roll the head to one side slowly, making sure that you're breathing. And then back to the other side. And this is great for releasing stress in the neck. We tend to hold a lot of our stress in our neck and our shoulders. And when we go in the opposite direction, we're going to do it one more time. And when we have stress in our neck and our shoulders, that slows down the blood flow, which means our skin cells back in the opposite direction aren't getting the nourishment that they need. All right, everybody good? Okay, so we're gonna start the workout. We're gonna start with our forehead and we're gonna work our way down to our neck. So the first exercise we're gonna do is the sun visor. So if you take your hands and do them like this, you're gonna take your thumbs and put them on your temple. And then you're gonna take the rest of your fingers and put them right at your hairline. And so you wanna give it some resistance. And so you wanna pull up on the hairline and also up on the temple. And so we're gonna do this, we're gonna hold it here for about 15 seconds. Making sure that you're breathing and making sure that you're lifting. You wanna lift. This is like a facelift simulation, I like to call it. And so what this is doing, keep breathing. This is helping to increase blood flow. And so that's helping to nourish the skin cells and it's helping the frontalis muscle. Now release. And then we'll do it one more time. All right, now lift. And the frontalis muscle is responsible for the fine lines and wrinkles that we get on our forehead. So this is great for helping to feed those skin cells, helping to minimize fine lines and wrinkles, and really helping the skin remember. So the skin has a memory. So you're helping it remember, hey, this is what you're supposed to be doing and what you were doing in my early 20s before I started losing collagen. So keep breathing. And you want to make sure that your shoulders are relaxed. You don't want your arms up like this. You want your body to be relaxed. And release. Right. So now we're going to move down to the eyes. So the muscles, the main muscle of the eye is called the orbicularis oculi. And so what we're going to do is we'll do these together, but I'm going to show you first. We're going to look to our right, then back to the center. Then we're going to look to the left, then back to the center. And then we're going to look down and back to the center. And the key here is making sure that you're breathing, you're not turning your head in any way, and your shoulders are relaxed. All right, let's begin. To the right, center, left, center, down, center, right, center, left, center, down, center. One more time, right. Gonna hold it here and breathe. Back to the center, left. Hold it here and breathe. Back to the center and down. Keep breathing. And relax. So that exercise is great for lines around the eyes. All right, so now we're gonna move down to the lips. And this one is for all of my people who love to do duck lips in their selfies, all right? So the muscle around the mouth, that's called the orbicularis oris. And so what you're gonna do is take your tongue and you're just gonna outline your lips in one direction. So it'll look like this. And then I'm gonna say switch and then we'll go in the opposite direction, okay? So let's begin. I want you to keep going. I want you to make sure you're breathing. Make sure that your body is relaxed. All right, now we're gonna switch and go in the opposite direction. And this is one of those ones, keep going, that I do when I'm in the car. And I know people look over at me like, what is she doing? But it's one of the easier ones that you can do anywhere. That's one of the advantages of face yoga as well, is that a lot of these moves you can do when you're in the car, when you're sitting watching television, and you can do something great for your skin in a couple of minutes. All right, so now we're gonna stop and move on to the next one. Everybody good? All right. So the next one I like to call think about it. So this one helps with double chins. So you're going to take your hand and you're going to place it on top of your other hand, your elbow on top of your other hand. And then you're going to place your hand underneath your chin. And you want to give it a little bit of pressure, some resistance, right? And so you're going to just open and close your mouth. So it'll look like this. And you should feel those muscles working. The masseter muscle, which is the main muscle that helps to open and close the mouth as we do this. All right. Open. Slowly close. Open. And close. Open. And close. Open. And close. And you should feel some resistance from your hand. Open and close. Two more. Open and close. One more. Open and close. That's one of my favorite ones because you can actually feel it working as you're doing it. That's one of the ones you can do really quickly, and I recommend doing that one once a day. And do about 10 reps of that, and you will start to see changes, and you'll start to notice that your, like I like to say, it's chiseled around this area and helps with your double chin. All right, so the last exercise we're gonna do is called the swan neck, and this exercise helps with turkey neck or loose skin on the neck. And so what it looks like is we'll go to both sides, and so you'll turn your head, and then you'll tilt your head backwards. And then we'll hold it, and then we'll turn to the other side and do the other side. And this is one of those ones where you have to listen to your body. When your body says stop, don't go back any further, okay? So let's turn to the left. Tilt your head back. Hold it here. And make sure that you're breathing. Make sure that your shoulders are relaxed. And keep breathing. All right, come up, bring your head back to center, and then we'll go to the right side or in the opposite direction. Now tilt your head back and breathe. Hold it here. And this is when I like to do my affirmations, tell myself that I'm awesome. Tell myself that I'm beautiful, and affirm myself as I'm doing these exercises. And bring your head back up. And slowly back to center. All right, so I want everybody to shake it out. And then I want you to bring your arms in. Give yourself a big hug for showing up for yourself today. And I want you to close your eyes. I want you to thank yourself for being here. I want you to thank your skin for all that it does, for protecting you, for communicating with the world for you. And now I want you to open your eyes, and I want you to repeat after me. I am worthy of my self-care. I am worthy of my self-care. I am worthy of my self-care. Thank you all so much. I hope you enjoyed this face yoga lesson.
Wow, you are so incredible.
Thank
I
you.
mean, that was so cool. I can't wait to try all of them on my own. Man, you are so awesome. Love you, Dr. Jen, Regina. I know what they're gonna say. My phone has been I got text messages galore. I know what people are gonna say. You know, we need more. We need a part 2. Because we need to talk more, we need to learn more. And so we'll have to figure out how we can get it in with all of our crazy schedules. But I am so honored. This is everything that I envisioned and some. Leaders who care about your health and wellness. People who are on with us this evening are going to walk away inspired with a lot of great information. Knowledge is power. And we know, what is that scripture? Without knowledge, people perish. Is that what it is?
The lack of knowledge, yeah.
Lack of knowledge, right? And so we don't want to have all of this amazing knowledge, all of these amazing experiences and not share it. That's what this platform is all about. And that's why we are introducing you to all of these amazing leaders who put the human in humanity. Love you all. Thank you for joining.
Love you.
Thank
Love
you.
you. Good night.
Thank
That was
you.
so awesome. Yeah.